I'm calling as a mother. My son's 52. He's been married over 20 years, and his wife has stopped having sex in the last 2 years. She's always had a problem with intimacy and doesn't like to be touched or hugged or kissed. And she's a good girl, but he feels that he doesn't want to go for a divorce. He's between a hard rock and a hard place because he said no one's committing adultery. So is this grounds as abandonment in the Bible or reason to have a divorce? She just doesn't want to travel with him or go visit her relatives or his friends. And he's kind of like on his own, like he's single, and he feels like he's not wanted even though she says she loves him. So please tell us if this is grounds for divorce.
Well, there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, we don't even have the time to go into it all, but I would say biblically you could find grounds for divorce, I believe, but if I'm that husband, I want to know why my wife's where she's at. Is she broken? Is she hurting? Is she wounded? Is it my job to love her at this time? I don't know. I don't believe, even as a pastor, I'd never tell somebody, go get a divorce. Unless it's biblically clear, like, 'cause that's what's saying. There's nothing biblically clear that says, like, for example, what if she's been abused or raped as a child? What if it's painful to her? I don't know. I need more details. So could there be grounds? Could we show if somebody just deprives their spouse? Obviously, Paul forbids it except for a time of fasting. There are things that you can see, but, there's a difference between can't and won't. And I'd need to know more in order to determine that. So I would get some counseling. I would really sit down with somebody, find out what's going on in my wife, especially if it's just in the past couple of years. Has there been any areas on his side that there's been any errors in his part that maybe he hasn't navigated things right in the marriage? A lot of things to look at.
But you know what, Jay? It says that she stopped having sex.
That's what I'm saying. Did he do anything?
Yeah.
Did he do anything inappropriate? Right. Did he do something in that marriage bedroom that reminded her of something? I don't know. That's what I said. Yeah. I'd have to go a little bit deeper to figure that out. But your point, I'd need to know why.
Yeah.
But running straight to divorce isn't necessarily the answer here.
I wouldn't agree. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, I like Jay's answer. I think, you definitely want, if you're her husband, you want her to get counseling, go to therapy, whatever. Again, I don't know. We got to look at him too. Has he done something? But I mean, biblically, and certainly in my understanding, in my tradition, which would come from the Puritans, this was definitely a grounds for divorce, that you could not, for just, you're going to say, I am not going to have sex anymore. It's not a medical issue. It's not something else. You just refuse. You have violated the marriage. I mean, you can't do that. And in our denomination, we would definitely grant grounds for divorce. We would actually call it a kind of sexual sin rather than an abandonment, but it could be under abandonment too. I can understand that. And I have, on one occasion, it's funny, I always thought that too. I would never counsel someone to get a divorce, even though they have grounds. I did at least one time where the presence of the spouse in the house was actually damaging, actually trying to undermine the children's faith, trying to undermine the family, belittling the wife. It was a husband issue, and all kind of horrible things. It would have been better for him not to be there. And I actually urged her to get a divorce for her own sake and for the sake of her kids. He had refused to have. I mean, just all kind of things. And
I think that's something we need to dive into a little bit more. Well, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to know these gentlemen's perspective. What it says, no sex, but what if there's certain types of sex that a person wants that they were getting and they can no longer? They're no longer going to do that. And I'm sure you all know where I'm going with that. But like, what if it's just, you know what I mean?
I mean, I think intercourse is what is commanded. The two shall become one flesh. Whatever they are doing besides that, I think both spouses have to be willing to do that on a regular basis as far as their health and so forth allows. Right. Otherwise, you've made the marriage a lie.
Well, I would agree with Ray. I think that beforehand, other than, I'll call it the traditional, anything in addition has to be an agreement between both parties. And if that part of it stopped and there was an agreement, then I would say that fits right in here too. Now the other thing that I was going to say, just say that the lady legitimately has a reason. Wouldn't that go back to the marriage vows that say for better or for worse? Right. Yeah. When you stood there before that altar and, now your wife cannot have sex. I mean, again, get the counseling and all, I'm saying all that. But if she can't, you just can't run away from that because, you made a vow in sickness and in health, for better or for worse.
And the reason why I mentioned it, Tom, because he said in the beginning, or she said in the beginning, there's always been problems there, intimacy
problems
and all
with
that
intimacy.
stuff. Yeah.
And it may be, rather than saying, well, is this grounds for divorce? What about counsel? What about medicine? Sometimes medicine helps people. Healing is needed here in any event. And so it is a difficult question, and I appreciate the brother's answers here because it's a sensitive situation. So